When it comes to buying a cheap car, BMWs are some of the best value for money on the market. Today we're going to look at 5 in particular for multiple price ranges, 100k, 50k, 25k, 10k and 5k that I think really hit home on that value for money perspective. So let's get straight into it. Do hit like for some more videos like this, subscribe as well if you're new, and let's look at some cool BMWs. In the world of BMWs, there are only 3 letters that really take precedence over BMW, CSL. That's why for our 100k car on this list, we have the most recent generation M4 CSL, which followed on from the previous generation GTS. This car is built to be the most aggressive version of the M4, limited to just 1,000 units, which is pretty crazy to think about. That's just 201 more models than the new Ferrari F80. It weighs 91 kgs less than the standard M4, with a bunch of carbon fibre used across the build, in line with the CSL name, which stands for Lightweight Sport Coupe when translated from German. These come with our first of 5 3-litre turbocharged inline-6 engines, though in this case it's a twin turbo block that puts out 543 brake horsepower, taking the car to 60 in 3.6 seconds. Pretty insane performance out of an M4. But it's not just a modified M4, it has its own bespoke parts that make it far more performant on track, including carbon ceramic brakes and special suspension, and it only gets 2 seats, both bucket inspired. The many modifications it got helped it to do a 7 minute 18 seconds lap time around the Nürburgring, which is obviously not on 911 GT3 pace, but it's not far off, and it's the fastest M car ever around the ring. They'll run you anywhere from around £90,000, and for 100k you'll be looking at a 2023 model with less than 1,000 miles on the clock. In terms of reliability, it's not easy to predict with these given they're so new, but instead I'd be worried about longer term values. As there are so few of them, in the very long term, of course there's potential for them to be sought after, just like the E46 M3 CSLs are today, which fetch some serious cash nowadays, but short term is a little bit more difficult to guess. Looking at the previous generation GTS, which is still up in the 80k region, however, I reckon you're pretty quids in with one of these. Let's cut that budget in half now and talk about the BMW 1M, which is actually called the BMW 1 Series M Coupe to give it its full name. It couldn't get the M1 nameplate as BMW didn't want to cause any confusion with the classic and very expensive M1, so with that unintentional snooker in mind, they stuck to 1M. This car was loved almost immediately for its formula. It's small, lightweight, powerful, boxy and has wide wheel arches. Reviews immediately drew comparisons with the old BMW E30 M3 or similar BMWs of the 1980s golden era. And the car was praised for actually being quite analog, which helps it to gain so much notoriety so quickly. It's rare but not incredibly rare, with 6,309 built in total, after BMW had originally planned to make just 2,700. The choice to more than double the number has definitely helped the price to sit lower a little longer than you might expect for a car we probably won't see anything like from BMW ever again. This instant classic came with a 3-litre turbocharged inline-6 engine, making 335 brake horsepower, taking it to 60 in 4.7 seconds, which is very good for the second oldest car on the list. These have kind of stagnated in price over the past few years, starting at around £37,000, with 50k getting you into a 2011 model with around 25,000 miles on the clock. Fuel pump and fuel injector issues on these are known, and in terms of performance, some serious track dayers have complained about the car's damping, which is apparently way too aggressive, and brakes which fade way too quickly for an M car. But given this is already a classic, I would probably expect most owners to be garaging these and barely using them, which in and of itself might bring its own issues. Add on the bad reliability record of that N54 and it might not be plain sailing on one of these, but what a pleasure of a car to own and a certified future classic. The car that followed on from the 1M is also the car following it on in this video, as we cut our price range in half again down to 25k. It's the first generation BMW M2, which took the broad formula of a small, lightweight, boxy BMW M Coupe that of course the 1M delivered, and turned it into something way more mass produced, and a car that has been frequented by younger drivers just getting into more exotic car ownership. I actually drove one of these recently, more on why there's no video on that shortly, and it was a lovely car to cruise around in. Modern enough to do all the important stuff for me, but simple enough that I could get a bit of analog fun out of it. It's fast but not ridiculously so, and it's a bit tail happy, which makes it even more fun to drive. I just wouldn't want to sit in the back for a long journey. In non-competition spec, these come with a 3-litre turbocharged inline-6 engine, making 364 brake horsepower, taking the car to 60 in 4.2 seconds, making this the second quickest car on the list. Rogue opinion here too, I actually way prefer the looks of the most recent M2 generation, which most people seem to think is a really ugly car. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. £18,000 the minimum you need to spend to get into one of these, and 25k is enough for a 20 2018 example with around 30,000 miles on the clock. Early models were known to struggle with the diff, and there were known turbo failures too. More interestingly, however, when I was reviewing that one a while back, as soon as I opened it up properly, the engine management light came on and it went into limp mode. I restarted the car and got it running without limp mode, but it made a horrible noise all the way home, so even in that short stint, I didn't see the best of what an M2 can give. So I hope you guys are enjoying this video. If you are, then do hit the like button and subscribe as well if you're new. 72% of people watching this right now are not subscribed, so I'd appreciate it if you did. And let me know in the comments down below, what is the most iconic BMW ever? We're dropping down to our 10k price range now, and to, I would say, the best value for money hot hatchback on the market right now, the BMW M135i. This car, in the right spec, looks so much more expensive than 10k, and it's faster than most other hatchbacks you can get into for this kind of money. I'd also take one over the equivalent slightly more expensive A45 AMG, which I wasn't that impressed by. The right spec, by the way, is one of the more aggressive colours in 3-door with some M Performance parts on the exterior to get it looking a touch more aggressive, a serious piece of kit. This car could beat the top-end Porsche Cayman of its time, the Cayman R, in a straight line, and fit more passengers, and has a bigger boot. So it was a bit of a jack of all trades while still being a leery car to drive. These come with a lovely 3-litre turbocharged inline-6 engine that makes 315 brake horsepower, taking them to 60 in 4.9 seconds, which is not far off hyper hatch territory, particularly in the 10k price range. I think BMW did a really good job with these. They made it quite an agile car. The same car could appeal to a business person, a hooligan, a family, and maybe even all three at the same time. These start at around the £7,000 mark, and for 10k you'll get yourself into a 2013 model with around 90,000 miles on the clock. There are multiple oil leaks known from these, from the valve cover to the oil pan to the oil filter housing. High pressure fuel pumps are also known to go, and some owners have reported gearboxes going, with early signs being whining noises, particularly when reversing. It's worth also noting that people love to thrash these around as they are cheap and fast hot hatches, and while they do exist to be enjoyed, just make sure the one that you're buying still has enjoyment left in it. We're on to our 5k car on this list now, the BMW 3 Series. I'm specifically talking about the 335i from the E90 generation in saloon, coupe and convertible spec, which are the specs you typically find within our price range. They came in two basic trim levels from BMW as well, SE or M Sport, and they're both basically exactly the same, except the M Sport looks a bit cooler, so why not go that way? I generally think the E92 Coupe and E93 convertible examples are two of the best looking non-M modern BMWs. The E92 has super smooth curves over that roof, and it looks just so right, while the E93 sharpens that roof up a bit at the back, which still looks good, but it looks even better with the roof down. Both cars for me are worth it just for the looks, but it gets even better with performance. Turns out this video is a twin turbo sandwich, as the 335i comes with a 3-litre twin turbocharged inline-6 block, making 301 brake horsepower, taking it to 60 in 5.3 seconds, which is not bad at all for the only non-M relevant car on this list. They're also highly tunable and can seriously trouble M cars without having to spend too much money. I do genuinely think this is the best value for money BMW under 5k. To get into one of these you need to spend anywhere from around £3,500, and 5k will get you a 2008 model with 90,000 miles on the clock. Early doors these were riddled with issues, starting again with the high pressure fuel pump, the turbos, the fuel injectors, ignition coils, wastegates and a whole bunch of other issues. By now they should have been through most of the more aggressive issues, and ideally you'd like to see some stronger parts being put onto them, but some issues are just part and parcel with that engine. To add insult to injury, a lot of them were known for electrical issues too, and depending on which set of alloys you get, some were very much known to crack, which has happened to one of my friends. So there you have it, 5 depreciated BMWs for every price range. I hope you enjoyed. Thanks to the patrons and to you guys for watching. Click on screen to see my review of a BMW M4.